Good morning from Yummy BTV. Wishing you all well today. Sending loads of love your way on a dreary day coming from down here. And before I go out and do some work in the community this morning, fresh from a brilliant live last night, a feeling to behold of so much love during the live session. And God bless you all who participated in some great exchanges last night. Now, I promised on that live session that I would be up this morning to do a very serious subject. Part one of Uncle Yammy's A Few Men That Battle Physically, Mentally, Spiritually, whatever way you want to call it, with prison staff, what we called as screws back in the day, fighting with them on a consistent basis, day after day, month after month, year after year. And we talk, matter-of-factly about what it really means when you're taking on such a difficult task. Like, I would look at it as bravery, courageous, because the other side of the coin, many would say, but it's a stupid game to play, fighting with staff every day, because the reality is eventually, long term, you are going to lose and you are going to be punished severely. And, to stand the test of time of going through such a high pressure cooker for those long periods of time are going to leave you so traumatized that for many men to have gone through this kind of experience, and many men still do, is going to leave you traumatized and damaged severely in some kind of way. Now, the first three names that spring to mind this morning, obviously, we talk about the last of the Mohicans, Warren Slaney, and the way, let's put it this way as well. It's worth reminding ourselves of the game playing that goes on in them places. The mind games from the prison staff in their really home territory. So you're playing away with a system that can really do whatever they want and get away with it. From the men that I'm going to mention now, from when they move around prisons and go on new wings, or they test them out on normal location before it all kicks off again by spreading lies about them, that they're nonsense grasses and this and that, so that other inmates, these are the kind of turn on them and look at them differently. These are the kind of games and tactics used by prison staff. And it's worth remembering as well, many of us will testify that they like breaking down men. They like breaking down big egos, men that fight the system and all that. I separate all these men even from Charlie Bronson that I'm going to mention now. But Warren Slaney has had to put up with a lot of stuff, that you violate me, leave me alone, the anger that comes out of him, the innocence, that he could be serving a life sentence for something he never done, or, the bit that they say he did, it wasn't actually him. So he's going to be boiling inside over that, which his behaviour suggested to me over years and years and years. But, from having those early battles when he's at his physical peak and knocking everyone out, knocking them all out everywhere, to eventually being wrapped up and, they're going to get the best of you in those exchanges that, sometimes witnessing down the Seg a couple of times when he's on the 10-man unlock with the shields day after day. And then they say, Warren Slaney, we're going to loosen up the restrictions kind of thing. He'll play up. He'll say, yeah, okay, God, yeah, I've calmed down now, everything cool. But really, he's got so used to what he's going through that he's planning, as soon as he's free from the unlock thing, as soon as he sees one of them on site going for his dinner, and seeing a prison officer standing there as he walks by, bang, straight away, put him on the floor. It all starts again. So you got to think, a man that is going through that year after year, it takes some doing. And for me as well, it does border on inhuman treatment, and you wonder how they can recover from such a lifetime of constant pressure. They're coming in, they're after me, they're saying this. And remember, inmates do get the feedback from what staff are saying to other inmates, because they could tell an inmate this and they would run back and tell Slaney, which is going to reinforce his mind that the game is continuing and that he won't be able to rest on his laurels. What do you do in the end? If you surrender and let them win, once you've gone down that road of constant battles with them, they're still, in reality, going to pick on you. They're still going to prod and poke and blah, 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 because they've got long memories of staff being assaulted over a long period of time. And, You know, it's just the way the game is. It's a very, very, very seriously damaging environment. You know, my way was always live to see another day. When you're outnumbered, you know, that I'll be able to read the signs. At least you're showing yourself out to me, I would say. So that means that I know that you've got it in for me. You was looking to beat me. I'll save it for another day when you're on your own, and we could play the mind games. But some of these men I'm talking about didn't have those kind of that self-control and intelligence, because I always believed that the brawn alone doesn't win it. You can win short term, a few battles, but the long war and the long haul, without the intelligence of pre-planning and knowing when, you know, it's not definitely going to go your way, and living to see another day and to fight another day, or avoiding it on certain occasions. These men that I talk about, they're going full throttle, keep coming forward, and they're going to keep, the system is going to keep breaking you down. So that's Slaney, right? So hope I'm not babbling here a little bit. So the second guy that I talk about this morning as well, and for me, I have to put him to a complete different level to everybody else, and it's Middlesbrough's Shane Taylor. Now, the reason why I put him different, because he could have, physically, he would be going in there, but for the simple reason, he took it to a whole different level by using weapons on staff as well, allegedly. So he's not mincing his bones. He's not taking no prisoners. He's not playing about. You mess about with me, I'm going all the way. I witnessed a couple of things. He's a very, very serious man, and a deep, deep man as well. And he doesn't realize, probably, well, he might know now, that he was always close to God and Jesus during even those stages, because that's what he is now. He's completely suffered the consequences, I would say, for those performances in jail, and he's found sanctuary in God and Jesus Christ and said, you know what, I feel safer with you than what I experienced throughout my whole life everywhere else. Is a very, very, very deep man, and very intelligent as well, but not taking a backward step. Ultimately, lucky that he was not doing life, because they picked and poked, and this is another one they do regularly, right? Is they test you on normal location. They say to you, yeah, we'll give you a little test now, Taylor, we'll be all right. But in the back of his mind, he's thinking, I know you're all going to start on me again. So you're living in constant fear of consequences of your past behavior, and you have to be, it's fight or flight mode. He's going to be thinking himself, oh, you're coming again, I'm going to have to get ready. And then they're not leaving him on normal location for too long, because the first sign, the screws are absolutely shit scared of him, like Slaney, because the unpredictability of the way that they think, you did all that to me, I'm going to get you back, you know what I mean? And so it is disturbing mental health wise as well for those prisoners. But I separate Shane Taylor from anything else that I ever saw and heard about from that life. When a man, for Bronson, physically, yeah, the same kind of method as well. Don't put Bronson next to Slaney either, for the die-hard, last of the Mohicans, if you get what I mean. And Shane Taylor, I put him as the man that went all the way, where others went always like that. Shane Taylor said, you know what, you're pissing me off so much, I'll go this way again. So imagine being staff and living under that. You get what you breed out of certain men sometimes, and so glad to hear that Shane Taylor has changed his life completely. The third man, that I was going to mention, right, now I'll do three men that I didn't spend a lot of time with. They were kind of a funny one, you know, sort them down a sec on one-offs and historical prison grapevine information about the stuff that they have gone through with staff over years and years and years. There was a geezer from Liverpool called Neil Young doing a 10 when I saw him briefly. Wears glasses, looks kind of different to everyone else, if you get what I mean. But the hatred and rage when confronted by staff, and you know, his quick hands and that kind of stuff. One time I saw him trying to push him into the cell, and I was looking through the door, and every time they tried to push him into the cell, he had his legs pushing against the wall and pushing back. Right, they struggled so bad. I've only seen this movie once or twice in my life, but they got so confused, and it upset, you know, the way that they do their procedure with trying to wrap someone up. because they couldn't get him through the door by an absolute diehard, and his expressions faced with any staff, it could only be being violated by them, that leaves certain men forever ever hating the system and prison officers. I don't know whether you've heard of him actually, Neil Young, but he was from Liverpool as far as I remember. The other man that I met when I was really young, briefly down the Seg when he was doing the London thing, was Parnell Dewberry. Now, I'd heard about him before I seen him. Didn't really know him that well, right? After, when I got to the second run of the Cat A's, he was already being moved around, and there was a change in his mental state as well after a lifetime of him versus the staff. And he would go in with the Screws officers whenever it was possible, right? And he had that mad kind of strength as well, Parnell. And a lot of the big names I was around in those 90s, going into probably the start of the millennium, when they used to go certain places, all they used to talk about was Parnell Dewberry. But ultimately, I heard in the end that he, you know what I mean, they mellowed him out a little bit, and there were some sad stories I'm not going to go into, because I'm hearing now that he might be out and doing really well. So that's good to see that he has recovered from an absolute traumatic time of physical battles with prison staff and all that. You can only, we explained it already about the trauma in later life. It's very difficult, man. When I was little, when they used to strip you off and throw you through the door and that kind of stuff, and you used to feel so violated and everything, that, you know, for whatever reasons, for me, like, I'd avoid certain fights with prison officers when I know that I can't win. But, you know, as years and years went by, then even I turned, like I said to you the other day, you're gonna get beaten, so you want to swing, you might as well swing anywhere and get the same kind of beating now. You got to have a pain threshold where you can take a lot of pain to get those regular beatings and all that. I don't believe that I had that. You know what I mean? To be perfectly honest with you, to keep taking it, you have to be battle scarred to keep going through it time and time again. There was an old story, you know, back in the day, there was a lot of racialist stuff, black and white, not being funny, from the old days. There wasn't a lot of Asians around in the 80s and that kind of stuff. There's a great story from Manchester with the big man JG, and I think his name was Henderson Proverbs. I think he's rest in peace now. Can't remember. I just hear a lot of stories about Proverbs going through the system, and a lot of staff would come in and use the N-word on him, and then JG would get involved, because those that know, he gets involved for all colours. He's mixed up in, just doesn't agree with the racialist stuff, and backed Proverbs in a few things over the years, because that N-word was used quite a lot, and a lot of people would accept it. But then, I can't go too deep into it because we don't want to, slander too much on Yami BT, but the reality was that many different cultures, colours kind of thing, had to suffer real cruelty at the hands of prison staff. Now, he goes down, I'll give him a mention, Proverbs as well, but we'll go into more of those, the race thing, kind of, what I witnessed, and, we try and do it respectfully. But the other guy was a geezer called Robert Chick Taylor. I think he was from Manchester. Another one fighting all day with the Screws. And I think one time he used the skill, a funny one where he they're getting the upper hand most days, but he came up with an ace card where he swallowed some toothpaste or something and faked a heart attack. So he got out to escape. I think it was Risley. I can't really remember. Right, but he got into the ambulance and then weighed them all in and got out. So he got his own back. He after doing that. So many ways to skin a cat. And also knew a guy that used to, rather than going in with the physical beatings every day, where he would, he felt too much pain to keep on doing it, used to go on the top of the landing and pour piss down from the, in the locals, where you could see the Screw standing there, and he'd go up the top of the thing, pour it down where the stuff would go all over the Screws, then they press the bell. There's many mind games that men, other ways of skinning the cat rather than violence, where men will get their own back after suffering beatings at the hands of prison staff as well. There was one more big name to come. I don't know what's wrong with my brain this morning, but feeling really good and all that. So we'll leave that as a part one, because that's 14 minutes, right? So hopefully more suggestions of names and all that ring bells, but plenty of men in that system that are still going through the same thing.